we go. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Amygdala, we have our South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Diamond Gladiators. It is SHIN. Not a very easy AI. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the American Terran player, the Blue Terran, representing Berserker Esports, if I'm not mistaken. It is FoxeR. We go. And if you're in the chat, predictions now open. Place your bets on who you think will take the series, on who you think will advance on to the semifinals, as we are entering a very, very odd map. We have some potential goal bases here right outside of the natural. They are blocked off by rocks, true, so expanding here would be a little bit more delayed. On top of that, the expansion is very exposed, as the mineral line is exposed to the elements, exposed to the center of the map, so a very difficult base to take without map control. Likewise, it is a very small map. What makes up for the map being so small, though, is the rush distance, because there are so many rocks here in the center of the map. Once they get knocked down, the map does reduce in size quite quickly, quite heavily. But with these rocks in place, it means that you do have to go the long way around. You have to go around the right-hand side or towards the left instead. Because of that, especially in certain matchups like ZvT, Overlord scouting and Overlord pathing is going to be quite important. Bear that in mind as well, that because you have to knock down these rocks to gain access to the center of the map, you could maybe try to rush into this goal base a little bit sooner. It's possible. It's going to be possible. As we are now moving out, we have Xel'Naga towers that are going to be within range of both scouting paths as well, or attack paths, on the left and the right. So a very unique map. Very unique map in that sense. Oh boy. Here we go, as the Overlord does move out. FoxeR back at home, going for the rack to span. Standard opener out of FoxeR. Likewise, SHIN just going hatch gas pool. Hatch gas pool, standard opener from our Zerg player. I bet on the very easy AI. Oh no. Not like this. Not like this. But yeah, the application that we use for introductions, because this is a separate client, it's not really connecting properly to the PTR. But we still get the trumpets though. That's what's important. Ah, the trumpets. Beautiful. Worth it. Oh, as FoxeR is opening up with a 1-1-1. Interesting. Very aggressive build here by FoxeR. FoxeR, he decides to delay his third CC in favor of a faster starport. With this, he can get into faster Banshee production as well. Maybe even BC. Oh my god, my apologies. 2 base all in. I was focusing on the 1-1-1. Technically, it is a 1-2-1 with a second factory before starport. FoxeR is looking to mech it up in quite an aggressive fashion as well. Hellions are amassing. I'm curious if he's going for Blue Flame with this, because there's going to be a tech lab on that second factory, or Hurricane engines. Hellions, they do skirt around towards the left hand side. Yep, Blue Flame is on the way. Remember, Blue Flame, they do additional damage to light units now. They were buffed with Lings, they do flood in. No! The wall's not a wall, the wall was wide open. Hellions getting surrounded. They do pull away in time, but one Hellion goes down, and there's one Hellion left, and it's going to fall as well. Massive pickoff. FoxeR out of position. He's racing back home, and Lings, they get how many SCV kills? 4, 5, 6 SCV kills, even more. Getting up to, 7. Not quite 8. Nice worker drilling there from FoxeR. Could have been so much worse. But that's still 7 SCVs. The Hellions get forced back home. Checking the vision here of SHIN. He did get eyes on the 1-1-1. He even saw the factory as well. He saw everything. And what does he do with that information? Roach Warren. Roach Warren is on the way. Roach is on the horizon here. Roaches are exactly what SHIN needs. He's spreading creep in his bases. Getting his third up and running. SHIN has seen everything he needs to, and he has delayed the economy of FoxeR. Aye. FoxeR still amassing Hellion. You can see SHIN getting ready with his SimCity. Ready to wall off that natural. And things are looking quite dire here for FoxeR. Does rotate towards the left-hand side. Trying to find a way into the natural. But there are queens in position. And they will wall off. FoxeR looking for a way in. Unable to find one. I don't think I've ever seen blue. Oh no. Este Kilo Delta in the chat. You're lucky. You've never experienced mech. I wish I was you. I'm envious, Pappy. I'm envious. Not like this. But yeah, it's a little bit more of a niche style, especially at the highest level of play, specifically mech, I mean. As FoxeR is committing into Banshee production as well. Third TC was heavily delayed, so FoxeR, he is quite behind economically. He needs these helis to do damage. Doesn't need them to deal damage. So far they are denied. Heli run by here towards the right hand side. 6 drones go down. Oh my god. You get 6, he gets 10. In a matter of seconds, 10 drones get roasted. 13. Oh my god. Again, it only takes 2 volleys. Crazy. 14. 14 drones go down. All it takes is 1 misstep. And FoxeR wreaks havoc. Gets 2 more drones here in the main. 16 drones in total. Not bad. But again, the downside here, even though we got so many drone kills, the reality is that SHIN still has a worker lead. As I say that, no detection, no spore. Delayed Banshee harass, gets in. 20 drone kills, almost 21. Spore repositioning. 21 workers go down, but FoxeR is still in 2 bases. Like that's kind of the big factor here, is that was impressive economic damage, but FoxeR, he was committed. He had to do more. Tank goes down, Roach counterattack does arrive, doesn't bust into the natural. But FoxeR desperately needs his 3rd. And he's still making more Banshees. Hyperflight Rotor's on the way. He's going into Banshee speed. So FoxeR is going mech with Banshee support. This is a bit of an older style. This was very popular, I would say, last year, like early 2023. So it's been a while. Has been a while. That was back when I think that was back during the Cyclone patch. No, before that, when Banshees were buffed. We saw players like Ryung and Maru embraced it at the time. As FoxeR has gained map control, we do see SHIN responding with Aspire, going to Muta or Corruptor. And thankfully, FoxeR, he's aware. He does scan, and he's turtling up. He's turtling up, walling up with more tanks. Thor production has begun. Bearing in mind that Thors are going to be a little bit more potent against at least mutas. The Corruptors have arrived. They're hunting down the Banshees. Nicely done. 3 Banshees do get caught out. And SHIN, he's not going into muta. He's switching into Hydras. Hive is on the way as well. SHIN is transitioning. SHIN is taking. He's taking up, going for the gold. I mentioned, of course, before that if you gain map control, this gold base is going to be a very, very valuable expansion. SHIN even going for the 3rd. CC's under fire. Do we have any Thors? Actually, there are some Cyclones. They get in position. They will save the expansion. CC is saved. Corruptors back up. SHIN getting up to 90 drones. Is now maxing out. And he's getting ready for his push. Now, pushing into this setup is not going to be easy. You can see here these ramps are brutal. Likewise, the tank lines are going to be quite solid as well. So it won't be an efficient fight for SHIN. But his goal is to at least deny an expansion and break one of these bases. So the Thors are setting up. Files, they do take down at least one of the tanks. He gets one, is going to get all three. Does get all three tanks, not bad. Again, denying any kind of mining. That is all that SHIN needs to do. Heli run by is cleaned up, more spine crawlers on the way. And SHIN, he is taking into Broodlords. Again, it makes sense against mech. Not just against mech, but because of this map layout. I mean, again, this base, you saw how exposed it is. I mean, even to just Roach Ravager. Imagine Broodlords. Imagine Broodlords on the other side of this wall. I don't see how FoxeR could actually maintain this position without Viking. And he is beginning Viking production. But defending the center base, specifically against Broodlords, I mean, even against, imagine Lurkers, same thing. Like, ranged Lurkers here, laying siege upon the mineral line. And pick your poison. Both would be effective. Speaking of, here come the Broods. FoxeR, thankfully, is expanding elsewhere, but yeah, the Broodlings have arrived. They take down the tanks, Thors, they're far back. Vikings pushing in, here come the yoinks! Into the spores! Not bad! Spores, they pop off. We have a couple of Hydras on the ground as well. And SHIN, he denies the center base. Getting another tank, yoinking the Thors. Gets one, gets two, gets three. Three Thors go down. Again, very nice pickups. And FoxeR forced to expand elsewhere. This base, once again, though, is very exposed. The rocks are being knocked down. It's very wide open. Setting up a siege line here is not going to be easy. So despite FoxeR attempting to play mech here, we can see how abusable some of these bases are. Like, this is not the map for it. I mean, even Whispers of Gold would fare a little bit better than this when it comes to turtling. Thor goes down. SHIN does rotates, transferring SCVs that get caught out by the roaches. And SHIN is going for the southern expansion. And there's no saving this. No shot. Yoinks come in, they catch the Thors. Three Thors go down. Yeah, and he just snowballs out of control. GG gets called, and SHIN will take game number 1. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. SHIN will take the first game. Again, I'm not opposed to the overall style that FoxeR was attempting, especially considering the buff to Blue Flame Hellions. Like, we saw him deal so much economic damage. He was able to catch 16 SCVs, but there are a couple of things to bear in mind when it comes to the early game damage. The most important one, of course, is that FoxeR was very committed on 2 bases. FoxeR's third was heavily delayed. It was a very late third base for FoxeR. So because of that, even though he dealt all that damage, he was still down like 15 drones. He was still down 15 workers compared to SHIN's setup, just because of how aggressive and how committed FoxeR was. Likewise, as we saw, that map as well, not necessarily the best map to try to play mech on, as we saw, whether it's the center goal base, whether it's the 4th base as well. Just defending a 4th base on this map feels very difficult, and it goes both ways. If you played a more active bio tank style, I do see a world where the Zerg player likewise is struggling to defend a 4th, whether it's the goal base, whether it's the 4th base instead, that's again a little bit more exposed. I do see that just being a little bit more difficult, depending on who's being the aggressor and who isn't. But here we go. We're working our way towards Game 2 on Snowpiercer. Getting into Game 2. I only played Direct Strike in SC2. Ah, fair enough. Fair enough, Pappy. Fair enough. As we're getting into Game 2 and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Snowpiercer, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Gaiman Gladiators. It is SHIN. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Blue Terran player. For Berserker Esports, the American Terran, it is FoxeR. Here we go. Are going to be loading in. And I'm curious how FoxeR will approach this game this time. You know, I don't think he's necessarily just one to mech every game. We have seen him embrace bio. So I'm curious if FoxeR will mix it up. Again, loading into Snowpiercer. What I will say is that these bases are much more secure as opposed to the previous map. I mean, again, this is not as extreme as Ultra Love. I do think that the extreme of turtling, Ultra Love is kind of the best example of that. Like, there are so many choke points and so many rocks and so many towers to knock down as well. That's also why I feel like it's just a little bit odd that they wanted to, you know, stop turtling, but they bring in Ultra Love, which is crazy. I feel like this is maybe a middle ground. What I will say is that this 4-base setup does feel quite secure, but the ramps and the entry points into the expansions are quite wide and quite open, so potentially you can still be aggressive and deny the 4th expansion. Likewise, there is this center area as well, where you can kind of rotate between the bases and poke in. Like, the 4-base setup here is quite spread out. So a turtling player would be spread quite thin on these 4 bases. But that is merely speculation. We have yet to really embrace that kind of setup here on Snowpiercer. So we'll see. We'll see how easy or how difficult it is to turtle in this map. Ah, the GG. SCV with the spray. As the Reaper moves out. Does move out across the map. Is going to be threatening that natural. SHIN so far just droning. SHIN is going for a delayed 3rd expansion. Interesting. Bear that in mind. Greens are amassing. Zoning away the Reaper. Oh, doesn't get the tumor. And yeah, SHIN just playing very safe. Playing very safely. Does pull out of gas. Takes down the Reaper. Massive pickoff. SHIN going for a more delayed 3rd expansion. Just staying on 2 bases a little bit longer instead. And we do have our answer here when it comes to the build for FoxeR. It is going to be a 3rd CC before Starport. It's going to be 3 CC, 2-1-1, as that is a 2nd Rax on the way. So this time, forget about the mech that we saw in Game 1. Here, it's going to be bio. It's going to be a double medevac 16 Marine push here from FoxeR. Now, because it is 3cc, a 3cc variation, it means that there are going to be some Hellions to support as well. This can lead into a Hellbat push if we throw down an Armory. Regardless, there's going to be 2 to 4 Hellions here for FoxeR and building up into his bio. So FoxeR, he does shift gears, taking a very different approach. And we'll be moving out. Does rotate. Does rotate, catches an Overlord, supply blocking SHIN. SHIN does at least get a full scout. He's aware of the 2-1-1. Is aware. And SHIN has actually been quite greedy here. I mean, I say that he is going for the lair. Hasn't gone for any earlier Baneling Nest. From here, I would imagine going into double Evo chamber, just running up. Just going to be droning, no big reaction so far. And there we go, safety Baneling Nest. So Shin's just settling in. He's happily settling in, spreading his creep. This is one of the downsides here of a 2-on-1, is that because you don't make many Hellions, it means that the Zerg player is free to spread creep, and that's a lot of creep. A lot of creep is being spread here. Shin has control of his side of the map. There's going to be a lot of pressure on FoxeR to make this medevac push, get damage done. There's a lot of pressure on the Terran as the Marines do move out. Let's move out, catches an Overlord. Doesn't get much more done. Shin, he's ready for it. Moves forward with the Queens. And again, the creep threat is still looking quite solid. FoxeR hasn't really been able to do too much. The medevac takes a lot of hits as well, and he has to back off. Now, again, he wasn't all in by any means. Remember, it was a third CC before Starport, so economic. He's on a solid economy. He's muling. He's keeping up with the economy of Shin, but the map control is what's really concerning to me. When it comes to this bioaggression, you do need to shut down these tumors. But FoxeR hasn't been able to. Shield with the surround. Shuts down the Marines. FoxeR gets one tumor. But 3 more get thrown down. And Shin, he's very quickly gaining map control. Very quickly. The creep is getting halfway across the map. Now, this is a very large map, I am noticing, so despite the control that Shin has currently, FoxeR is still quite safe back at home. And we'll see if he sets up for a 4th. Nice target firing. Get some Banelings. Getting on top of the tumors as well. Tumors do go down. There's the 4th CC on the way. FoxeR building up towards a later game. But I mentioned before that if FoxeR doesn't stop the creep now, it's gonna get out of hand. He needs to be more active. Going for a split push. Meanwhile, Shin embracing Lingbane Hydra. Shutting down some of the Marines. Not really catching any tumors. Getting very low. FoxeR has to back off. And it does very quickly feel like Shin's getting out of hand. He's soon going to max out. Shin is on 81 workers. He's getting a 5th expansion. And Shin will soon max out. I mean, the supplies are still quite close for the time being, but that's just because Shin has been droning. Shin has been droning, and soon that's all going to come into play. Second medevac goes down as well. Oh, FoxeR not paying attention. That's 2 medevac kills. Marines get chased down. Nice drop towards the north, though. Takes down all the active tumors. Lurker Den is on the way. Hive as well. Shin is looking quite comfortable. Because FoxeR has been struggling with all the creep, the mineral lines have been left safe and sound. So no drone kills, no economic damage. As FoxeR is establishing his 4th. But this southern expansion is still looking quite exposed, though. There's not really much SimCity to work with. But FoxeR actually pushing out. Okay. He's going to be pushing. Not gonna lie, Snowpiercer reminds me a little bit more of... What map am I thinking of? But it's been a while since we've had a map set up quite like this, where it is quite wide open here in the center. with the high ground, though. Am I thinking of Everdream? No. The other one. As FoxeR, he denies creep. He's gaining ground. Likewise, going for a double drop towards the south. Taking down a lot of tumors. SHIN, his Ling Rumbai gets scouted. FoxeR is aware he does respond. Getting in position. Oh, God. FoxeR, calm down. Nice control. Does react in time. Shuts down the Baneling. SHIN is max, but so is FoxeR. And I do think he has done enough. What I mean by that is that the creep is retreating here towards the north. SHIN is going to be collapsing in. It does send it. Takes down the tanks on the low ground. The positioning, though, with those tanks on the high ground. FoxeR trades well. I think this does remind me of Everdream. Like, this setup is so good. Tanks are being cleaned up, though. SHIN takes the fight. Creep is receding quite heavily here, but is expanding towards the south. Towards the bases of FoxeR. FoxeR is holding his own. As FoxeR attempts to expand, I feel like the 5th base is going to be more difficult to hold on to. But he's going for it. Dance with the army, double drop towards the south. SHIN does have some Ling Bane in position. Not the best trades for SHIN. Oh, the pickup micro takes out all the Lings. Likewise, northern expansion is denied. That's a kill, not a cancel on the hatchery. Very nice pickup here by FoxeR. Gets the expansion. Gets his 5th. Something that we are lacking here that I would love to see is sensor towers, especially because FoxeR is being spread thin. Like, again, this 5A setup is very spread out. And FoxeR is relying quite heavily here on just, you know, being in position for these run-bys. Nidus Storm is done. SHIN looking for a Nidus into the main. Speaking of, there's a Nidus. Nidus is on the way. FoxeR, thanks to his activity, he's actually getting his 5th base fully operational. And he's holding his own. Holding his own here against SHIN. SHIN setting up the surround. FoxeR has to get the hell out of here. Nice target firing. But he does pull away. SHIN still building up a massive bank. Nidus Storm into the main. Changelings have arrived, but there's a tank in position, and the Nidus is going to be shut down. But here comes the Ling Bane towards the planetary. And FoxeR is not quite here. No tanks, no army. Was in the medevac. Again, most of the tanks are set up here towards the south. FoxeR is having a hard time spreading out his army. Does get into the mineral line though. Gets 5 drones. Gets 6 workers in total, but not quite worth it. Nidus Storm does finish. Lurkers, they get into the natural. And a backup Nidus is on the way. SHIN, he has the ramp. At least he's trying to hold on to the ramp. Down to 3 lurkers. Snipes are brutal. Nidus is denied. A nice cleanup here out of FoxeR. Very nicely done. Loses 1 tank, but that was well worth it for the Terran. Takes down all the lurkers. Denies the Nidus. SHIN trying to reinforce once again. FoxeR out of position. Again, he's just got so much supply tied up here towards the south. It's not helping. As FoxeR does at least save the CC. Re-expanding Sensor Tower finally on the way. Let's go. There we go. Does rotate with the tanks. The creep was never respread here towards the top side of the map. So SHIN isn't actually set up here. FoxeR has potential. He can try to break out. Speaking of, FoxeR does push forward. SHIN trying to keep up. Nah, Lurker goes down. Oh, the snipes! Snipes going up. FoxeR barely will save most of his ghosts. All of them go down. But does save most. As he is just trying to keep up with SHIN. Nidus run towards the natural. Once again, FoxeR doesn't get eyes on this. We'll clean it up. So far, so good. I do really appreciate all the points of elevation on this map as well. Like, despite the fact that it's quite wide open, it does give a lot of pushing power, a lot of really good tank positions as well. It feels like an older map. Like it, I miss it, Papi. I miss it. Ah, let's go. Oh my god. FoxeR, he pushes into lurkers, bleeds out 3 ghosts. Ay. He's being active though. Clearing up a lot of tumors. He's being cleared up. FoxeR pulling back. SHIN gaining ground, but hey, the tanks that were left in position, and they're ready for this. They're more than ready. SHIN, he cannot push in, not into this position. Likewise, double Nidus Worm into the main. Ghost in position. Oh, lurkers, they try to pop out. Bold move, not going to be worth it. That's going to be 3 lurkers, 4 lurkers going down. SHIN looking for another way in. Now, as opposed to the previous map, I don't think Broodlords are going to be anywhere near as effective. The terrain here isn't anywhere near as abusable, I will say. There is a Spire on the way, and the longer this game goes on, the more likely it is that we do have to embrace Broodlords. So SHIN is getting ready for it. As the Greater Spire is done, and he's working on those +1 upgrades. On top of that, the creep is lacking. He does have to get there. SHIN's still looking for another way in. I'm not opposed to SHIN staying on Ling Bane Hydra Lurker, but again, because of the tank lines, because of the ramps as well, his main army just hasn't really been able to gain much ground. Likewise, he's been heavily reliant on these Nidus Worms, but they haven't gotten up either. Have not gotten up. SHIN does have a couple of Vipers. If FoxeR is out of position, SHIN can try to break one of these expansions. FoxeR is trying to keep up. The Vipers! No! Oh my god, they get a couple of power bombs. Vipers do escape. That was almost massive. The Vipers get out of there. To escape. Corruptors are on the way. FoxeR still trying to be active. FoxeR isn't quite ready for Broodlords. I'm a little bit concerned. Once he does realize what's going on, he should be switching into a more Viking or more Thor-heavy composition. Getting into his anti-air. Now is not yet the time, though. Jesus, the setup here. It's a lot of Spine Crawlers. Oof. Not the best trade from the Terran. Bleeds out some of the ghosts. Snipes from the lurkers. Shin threatens a dive. Doesn't commit. Now we're also entering a really odd game state, and this could just be the win condition for Shin, is the fact that FoxeR, he's been on 5 bases for like 10 minutes. Where's the 6th? Right? Because of the map control that Shin has had, even though he really hasn't been able to threaten these bases for quite some time, he is up a base. He has every other expansion, and I don't really see FoxeR taking any other anytime soon. Not with this kind of setup. As a result, Shin has a massive bank. And his goal here might just be to starve FoxeR out. As we have a 7 base setup against 5 base Terran. She needs up 2 expansions. And that's what he needs to do, just hold on to these bases. Hold on to these fringe bases. And not let go. I do think that this northern base would have been the more natural expansion for FoxeR. But it has taken him quite some time to move in with these tanks. Liberation has arrived. This base is going to go down. But Shin, he's already mined quite a bit from this. Finally, the space will fall. And FoxeR, he can maintain himself. Meanwhile, Nidastorms are finishing up. No! They finish in the main! FoxeR, he might deny an expansion, but what about the production? Finally, Shin, he has done it. Busts into the main base, takes down the tanks. And he's gonna lay siege upon the production. FoxeR, he's racing back home. He turns everything around. Which means Shin, he can reestablish. Hatchery's on the way. And sometimes all it takes is 1. In this case, it was 3. It was 3 Nidastorms. Jesus. Ghost Academy goes down. Yo, I forgot about that upgrade, Frenzy, or Dash. I completely forgot. So did Shin, apparently. He was playing Lingbane Hydra for 22 minutes. He's like, oh yeah, there's an upgrade. True. Fun fact, he's getting the Hydra Dash, but he's already switching into Broodlord. So wait, I don't think we're gonna see it, to be honest. We'll see. But to be fair, I forgot about it as well. True. What's it called in game? Do they settle on the name? We'll find out on the right hand side. Shell switch. Frenzy. Okay. They're calling it Frenzy. Which is the co-op name of that visual. Frenzy, that sounds crazy. What does it do? It makes you a little bit faster for less than a second. Oh, okay. Here we go. Shin collapsing in. Massive lightning clouds on the tanks. Takes down all the Liberators. And Shin, he will just collapse and clean up this army. Massive connections with the Banelings, takes down all the ghosts. And now it is time. Oh, we get the dash. Dash is towards the end. And show us the Broodlords. Show us, Pappy. We're ready. Gets a CC. Corruptors, they pull back. And there it is. Oh my god. 25 Broodlords on the way. And that's going to be the nail in the coffin. I mean, Shin, he does reestablish the base, even though FoxeR knocked this down because of the Nidastorms. It forced him all the way back, and FoxeR did not expand. He did not take the expansion. Jesus, he's got 48 SCVs at this one base. Again, FoxeR's out of money. He's out of resources. He's mined out here towards the south, towards here, towards the north as well. He does have a couple of patches at the natural somehow. Oh my god, but here come the Broods. They knock down the planetaries. The mass repair is coming in. Let's go. Jeez, so many SCVs. And the Broodlords, they will shut this down. I mean, whether it was going to be Broodlords or even just another Remax on Lurker, there's just nothing to stop SHIN. And FoxeR at this point is just going for a counterattack. He's all in. Like, it's kind of weird to say that, considering that FoxeR has a bank, but the reality is that FoxeR, he has no economy, he can't really maintain himself in a longer game state. He lost a lot of production earlier, and he has to push in. It's all or nothing for the Terran. We'll take down an expansion. SHIN, he responds with his ground army. Broodlords, they turn back around. Nice Fungal's just slowing down the bio. Broodlords, they're coming back home. Oh, going for the neural. The tanks get neural. Massive lightning cloud as well. You don't often see Banelings take down tanks like that, but I mean, hey, it works. Cleaning up the final tank. SHIN backs off. Broodlords, they come in from behind. And what is the anti-air? Mainly Marine. No more Ghosts. No Ghosts, no Vikings. Just man with gun. Broodlords, that will chase him down. Jesus. The Broodlords just is so fast. Jesus, oh my god. And yeah, the Broodlords will overwhelm. And again, unfortunately, FoxeR was just never ready for a Broodlord switch. He didn't really have the economy set up for it either. The production was on fire, so he has no ghosts. He just has no answer. It's just Marine tank. He has a Lair Tech army here. So the Broodlords will overwhelm. Specifically, what's crazy that we're seeing here is actually the attack rate of the Broodlord. Like previously, it would take longer to charge up a shot for the Broodlord, and now it is so much faster. That's why the attack rate looks so quick. And FoxeR, he burned through his bank. He burned through his bank. Again, the Broodlings, sorry, they get sent so quick. It's like the Broodlords are like pegging the Broodlings. Fungal does connect. The chain Fungals even, and again, it's just purely Marine. And pure Marine against any kind of hive-based army, it's gonna struggle. So FoxeR has to get the hell out of here. Gets an expansion. More bases falling. And FoxeR is just going for one final push. One last hurrah across the map. And again, I did want to praise FoxeR because he was able to hold his own for most of this game. I was very impressed by FoxeR. But as we saw, there was that one critical moment when SHIN, he got into the main base, he was able to pull off those Nidus Swarms. If you remember, that coincided with FoxeR killing this northern expansion, and FoxeR was never able to actually establish a new base, never got a 6th base up and running because of the Nidus Swarm. It dragged him back home, it bought time, and allowed SHIN to reestablish himself and get ready for that Broodlord transition as well. But again, until then, I was very impressed by FoxeR. Did play well against the Ultra Cavern. Moving out, getting into mineral lines. Drones are falling. Oh, gets the yoink. SHIN with the abduction. Even taking the bases here of FoxeR. I don't even know if this is worth it, just because there's so little to mine, but it's fine. Just getting another expansion. FoxeR just doesn't have much left. Oof. As Vikings have it the field, there's no anti-air. True. The Vikings, they can pop off. Eventually. I mean, that's still 25 Brood Lords. GG gets called, and SHIN will take the series at 2-0. GG. GG, well played, SHIN. He will advance on to the semifinals, but a shout out to FoxeR for holding his own for as long as he did. Again, I was very impressed by FoxeR's play. He was able to do a great job when it comes to being active, denying creep, and keeping up with the rotations of SHIN, shutting down the Nidus Worms as well, time and time again. But we saw that it was like the 5th or 6th or 7th wave of Nidus Worms that finally got up and running. Lurkers, they busted into the main base, they camped the production, they forced a big reaction out of FoxeR, and that was the first kind of domino falling in favor of SHIN. He was able to snowball out of control from there. Until then, though, like, FoxeR was playing well. GG. GG, well played. Hope that FoxeR is able to take from that, learn from that, and grow from that as well. Look forward to seeing more FoxeR in the coming weeks as we are getting ready for our next series. Oh my god. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back of your